Welcome to Unit 3, Lesson 4, Using Simple Interest. This is an Algebra 1 course, and I'm Mr. Pilarski. Our objective today is I will be able to solve problems using the simple interest formula, which, by the way, is I is equal to PRT. Let's get this math party started. Here we're going to be taking a look at the simple interest formula. The actual formula is down here for some reason. I guess I put it down here because I was going to talk about these definitions first. But the formula is I is equal to PRT, where I is the interest. The interest is defined as the amount paid or earned for the use of money. You are either going to pay interest or you're going to earn interest. If you pay interest on something, it's because you took a loan of some sort, borrowed money from a bank or a person, and you have to pay back what you borrowed plus the interest, and that's the amount you pay. If you earn money in interest, it's because you've invested your money and you earned interest back on that and invested into a savings account or a certificate of deposit, otherwise known as a CD. The principal is the starting amount of money invested or borrowed. It's the starting amount of money, whether it be an investment or it's lended to you. The rate is the R, that's the percent expressed as a decimal. Percent as a decimal. Percent expressed as a decimal. That's important. Here's another important thing. The T is the time, and the T has to be in years. If it's given to you in months, you're going to have to change it into years by putting it over 12. Let's take a look at solving some problems with the simple interest formula. We're going to start our work with the simple interest formula with example 1T. Michelle invested $5,000 with an interest rate of 4.8%. How much interest would she earn after 2 years? Well, I like to start by writing down the simple interest formula. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Then I go back and reread the problem and identify what's given and what I have to find. Michelle invested $5,000. Well, right there, invested $5,000. That's an important part of this problem. By definition, the principal is the amount of money invested or borrowed. So Michelle invested $5,000. That's our principal. With an interest rate of 4.8%. That's our R, but you have to remember, even though 4.8% is a decimal number, it has a decimal in it, we have to convert the percent to a decimal by dividing by 100 or moving the decimal 2 times to the left. So the rate as a decimal is 0.48. How much interest? There's our question. How much interest? So we're going to be solving for the interest, which she earned after 2 years. And our time is expressed in years this time. So that's our time. So let's substitute and solve. Interest is equal to the principal, 5,000, times the rate expressed as a decimal, 0.048, times the time, which is 2 years. Now we have to multiply. You could use a calculator, or you can multiply 5,000 times 2 to get 10,000. That's a 0, not a 6. We have to multiply that by 0.048. And to multiply by 10,000, we have to take this decimal and move it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the interest earned in this case is $480. So that's solving an interest problem where we have to solve for the interest. We continue our work with example 2T with the simple interest formula. It reads, James invested $6,119 into an account with 13.88% interest for 35 months. How much interest did he earn? So, writing down the formula, interest is equal to principal times rate times time, PRT. Let's go back and identify what we're given and what we have to find. James invested. Okay, so same type of problem. He's making an investment. So that's our principal into an account with 13.88% interest rate. That's our rate. Now we have to change that to a decimal. Even though it's a decimal number, we have to move the decimal 2 times to the left. So the interest rate expressed as a decimal, well, I already had a decimal there, is 13.88 or 0.1388. Let me get rid of one of those decimals real quick. Or get rid of both of them. For 35 months. Now this is the time, and this is what makes this problem tough. Right here, the time is not expressed in years, and I'm going to show you how I deal with that here in a second. And it asks us again, how much interest? So we're solving for the interest. So interest is equal to the principal, $6,119, times the interest rate, 0.1388, times the time. Now watch how I write the time. Since there's 12 months in a year, I just take the months and I put it over 12. Entering into the calculator like this at this point I would suggest you just use a calculator. When you enter this into the calculator, you type in 6,119 times 0.1388 times 35 divide 12. And that'll give you the correct answer, which in this case would be $2,477.18. So, James earned almost $2,500 in interest over almost 3 years. Sally invested some money in a mutual fund. Her interest rate was 11.73% for 4 years. She earned $13,922.12 in interest. How much did she invest? Well, back to our I is equal to PRT. Interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time. Sally invested some money in the mutual fund. Her interest rate was 11.3%. Remember, we're going to have to change that to a decimal by moving that 2 times, so the number we use is going to be 0.1173 for 4 years. That's our time. She earned $13,922.12 in interest. Right there, this is her interest. And it got cut off here on the next line, but that's her interest. So this problem, because we're asked to find how much money did she invest, we're being asked to solve for the principal. And this is where I really found my students got confused. In for the interest, we put $13,922.12 equal to the principal, which we're solving for, times the percent rate as a time, or the interest rate, I should say, not expressed as time, but expressed as a decimal number, and multiplied by the time. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to multiply 4 times this decimal, 0.1173, and that's going to give 0.4692. I'm going to put the P on the right-hand side now, and that gives me a pretty simple equation that I need to solve. And I'm going to solve that equation by dividing each side by 0.4692. And when I divide those two numbers out, and again, something just use a calculator for, it comes out to be 29,000 $672.04. That's a 0, not a 6. So Sally invested almost $30,000 to earn that kind of money over 4 years. Here in example 4t, you're going to see we're still working with simple interest, and we're going to find the last variable that we haven't solved for yet. If you have any deductive reasoning skills, you should know we're going to be solving for time. Anne invested $5,152 with an interest rate of 13%. She earned $1,339.52. For how many years did she invest? Right there, there's our question. For how many years? So we're going to be solving for t. What I haven't done yet is I haven't written down the interest formula. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. And we can see we're going to be solving for t. Anne invested $5,152. That's the principal. By definition, the money invested is the principal. The interest rate is 13%, and that interest rate expressed as a decimal number is 0.13. Remember, we take that decimal which is there and move it 2 times to the left, and she earned $1,339.52. That's the interest. And again, by definition, interest is the money earned or paid for use of money. So, substituting in, we have 1,339.52, not 53, but 52, equal to the principal, 5,152, times the interest rate, which is 0.13, and we have to solve for the time. So what I'm going to do now to solve this is multiply these two numbers together. 5,152 times 0.13, and what that gives is 6,690, or 669.76, and I bring the t down, bring the equal sign down, and bring the left side down. Then I divide by 669.76. And when we do this division here, we find the time to be equal to 2. So in this case, that's going to be 2 years. Here in example 5t, we continue our work with simple interest formula, and this is going to be a multi-step simple interest formula. So far in the first 4 examples, we solved for one of the variables, whether it be the principal, the rate, the time, or the interest. In this problem, we have to calculate the interest first, and then take that interest and add it to the principal. You're going to see what I mean here in a minute. Julio used his credit card to buy a new Nintendo gaming system. It cost $250. If it took him to 6 months to pay it off, and his credit card has a 17% interest rate, how much did the gaming system really cost him? This question implies that we have to find the total cost of the gaming system. How much did the gaming system really cost him? Of course it cost him $250, but it took him some time to pay it back. So he has to pay back some money for borrowing that $250 to buy the gaming system when he wanted it. So let's take a look at this, finding the total cost of this game with simple interest. First, we have to calculate the interest using the simple interest formula. The interest is going to be the principal, and the principal in this case is the amount of money he charged to his credit card. That's the principal. So the principal is $250. The interest rate is 17%, but expressed as a decimal number is 0.17. And the time in this case is 6 months. That's the time. Now that, as a fraction, has to be over 12. 6 over 12. So when we go to multiply this out, now you could write this as 0.5 if you wanted to do it by hand, or to make it easier to put it in your calculator, you could go 250 times 0.17 times 6 over 12, or 0.5 in that case. And what that gives is $21.25. Now that's not how much he paid for the Nintendo system. That's how much interest he paid. He has to pay back the $250 plus the $21.25. So when we add these two numbers together, what that gives is $271.25. That's how much the gaming system cost him, because he put it on his credit card. He paid an additional $21.25 in interest. That's how banks make money, by charging interest on loans.